Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you Monday through Friday every week. Today on the Bourbon Show, we have a roundtable discussion to discuss why is bourbon a hobby. My name is Buffalo Bob. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Dana the Dreamer 6, Lori Mangum, and a great big fat person, Jeff Lundstrom.
Am I on the show at all?
And Miss Becca Sue.
Mr. Becca Sue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's in the well.
Here we are, Halloween Eve, and Miss Becca Sue now has a beard like me. So, yeah, she's now sporting it. It's a good look. We hadn't podcasted for a long time. I didn't realize she did that. And we've got Dana the Dreamer 6 has been hitting this handle of beam, which was almost full when we started. And is now it's gonna get below the label here before too long.
It's making me feel guilty.
I know.
Like I need to be wasted right now.
Her teams are scoring.
Yeah.
So she's got to drink.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if anybody sees Dana the Dreamer 6 take a drink during the show, we know that one of her teams has scored. So, yeah, she's following this stuff closely. So, we're just having some fun. We decided to have Jeff do that because apparently everybody where he's from, Ankeny, Iowa, talks like they're Buffalo Bill. So, yeah. Yeah. You refer to yourself as Buffalo Bob. I don't know if that was on purpose, just because you want to be different than Buffalo Bill, or...
No, that was accident. I did the Joe Dirt on accident.
Okay.
I went to Joe Dirt. He was Buffalo Bob and Joe Dirt.
Okay, and then you called this the Bourbon Show at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was nervous.
Okay. I don't think you did bad.
You know what? I'm just happy that this means I'm not losing my job.
Okay. Does anybody feel like we should redo it with the professional announcer, Jeff?
I mean, Jeff is always a professional.
No. Okay. No. All right.
No.
Okay. I guess not. All right. All right. Who votes we should have Jeff redo that as the professional announcer? Oh no, it's not happening.
I mean,
both. I've never heard that. I like the other guy too. So.
I mean, we're using both either way.
Like
so yeah.
Official Ohio fan.
What?
Here, James Earl Jeff too.
Ohio.
Yeah.
All right.
Do it again, Jeff.
Let's do it again as James Earl Jeff as we. Yeah.
Hang on.
I say it like I'm in charge. We'll let you
Take
do
a
this
sip
again.
of water.
Okay. This is a professional show. We're not even into the
We're
show yet.
very professional.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a good show today, by the way. As Jeff prepares himself, we got a good show. We're going to be talking about why is bourbon a hobby. So that's kind of cool. So it's more than just a drink. It's a hobby. We'll get into that. That's all after the break, though. Right now, Jeff, we're going to do a take two that is going to play within the show.
Okay.
We're ready.
All right. I'm ready too.
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon, delivered to you Monday through Friday every week. Today on the show, we have a roundtable discussion to discuss why is bourbon a hobby. My name is Jeff Lundstrom. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Dana the Dreamer 6, Lori Mangum, and Miss Becca Sue.
Yeah! That was good. That was good.
He did it.
Yeah, he did.
Crazy son of a bitch, he did it.
That crazy son of a bitch.
All right. Well, now we had a proper introduction. So, Lori, you said there's something you want to talk to the group about. What was that?
Yeah, so, we've talked in previous episodes about, like, the stigma of being super into bourbon, but I have another stigma in mind that I want to ask you guys about. Does anybody have any tattoos? And if so, like, do you get flack about it?
Okay. I'll go first because I think I'm the only one. I'm on a no tattoo island here. I have no tattoos. No.
Oh, Steve, no ABV tattoos.
No ABV tattoos. Probably not in my future. So yeah, I'm not a tattoo guy.
Probably never.
Judgy.
I didn't judge anyone. I've never said anything bad about anybody's
judged.
tattoos. It's just not for me. So yeah, I won't be doing that. All right. So no for me. Dana, how about you? You've got tattoos. What do people think about those?
So I have two, and one of them no one sees because on my ribs it says "Love me for who I am," which I got after my divorce because fuck that tar. But anyway, and then I have one on my foot that says "Walks by Faith," And a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's so cute. What does it mean?" I mean, if you have to ask, you don't know.
Okay.
So,
Dana's struggling. Yeah, Dana, you want to show them the rest of the cat there because it's very insightful. So because on your shirt.
Oh yeah.
You showed us before, but it wasn't.
That's double. I didn't realize it was double.
So yeah, it's double bird. So
looking around for a cat in her room.
She did that on the previous show, but it wasn't a video show. So this time we have a special video presentation available to Patreon supporters. So if you're hearing this, it's going to be played just as a regular Bourbon Daily, but it's also available for Patreon supporters as video. So that's pretty cool. You get to see Miss Becca Sue's beard and everything else. So Miss Becca Sue. Well, let's say Miss Becca Sue, because she's got a lot of tattoos. So, Lori, we'll go with you next. You have a couple of tattoos, you said. I know one you got just recently. I've seen that one.
I have a few. Yeah, and I've got another one in the works. My most recent one is right here on my gun. Look at that gun.
Unicorn?
It's a little unicorn. She's dainty.
Oh, beautiful.
And a lot of people have asked me since I got it, like, oh, so you like unicorns? And I'm like, this is my opportunity to like get really in people's faces and be like, it's my fucking cancer survivor tattoo. And they're like, and they don't know what to do with it. I'm like, but also, yes, I like unicorns, and you're off the hook.
And you're off the hook.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So, do you feel like people ever judge you because you have tattoos or not?
Yeah, sometimes. I feel like I have to filter a lot, especially like in the workplace, or I do a lot of work with a local cancer support nonprofit, and some of the people that we talk to about our mission and are like working on developing fundraising relationships with are maybe a little older and more conservative. And so sometimes I feel like, day to day I get up and I'm like, okay, is this a see it or not see it kind of day?
Right.
Because my other ones are all hidden because they're for me, I didn't get them for anybody else. So, but this one happens to be more visible. So I do feel like I filter sometimes.
Okay. So Miss Becca Sue, you have a lot of tattoos. So if you know Miss Becca Sue, you see tattoos.
She's pondering them all right now.
What do you think about the tattoos, Miss Becca Sue?
Well,
do people judge you because you have tattoos?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So things that I do because I'm a little heavily tattooed. Whenever I meet, this is hilarious, a new boyfriend, boyfriend in a while, a new boyfriend's parents.
Oh.
I always wear long sleeves. So that they can meet me and love me because I am very lovable. FYI.
Blowing you.
I can't take myself seriously with this fucking beard. So I'm very lovable, obviously. And so then they meet me, they love me, and then I go, oh, surprise! I have tattoos, but I have a job. I also, like if I go on work trips and I know I'm going to see a lot of customers on work trips and I wear like long sleeves just because I don't want them to, but it is the oil industry and so it's not as like judgy as like some other things. But it's just funny because I forget a lot actually that I am pretty heavily tattooed on my entire body, including my throat.
Oh. Yes.
Moida.
Yes. That was our big reveal for after the break. Oh, well, there you go, folks.
They'll still see it.
Okay. All right.
But like I forget about it though, and so then people just like be staring at me and I'm like, why is the person just staring at me? And I'm like, oh, that's probably why.
The tattoos.
And it's not generally because of the fake beard.
Okay. As a non-tattoo guy, I have a question. Don't you put them on there to be stared at, not to have people judge you, but because it's art and it's things that you like, and you put them on your body because you like to look at it. Is it okay for people to stare and look at it? Yeah, I would think so.
Absolutely. I
don't think that's wrong.
Now, there is a thing where like some people will walk up to you and like grab
you? No, that's not
people,
right.
No, who come up to me and will grab my arm and twist me around, say, "I don't know, let me see your arm. This is beautiful." I'm like, well, let's ask first.
Let's ask first.
Seems like a nice thing to do is ask. And so that's not acceptable. But anytime someone asks to look at them, I always roll my sleeves up and let people look.
Yeah.
Jeff, you asked the question. And I don't know how many tattoos you got. I know Jeff has one for sure. I assume there's more. You mentioned that there's more on your stomach and chest. Thankfully, I've never seen those.
You might have, but we didn't stay in the same hotel room.
Okay. Yeah, I got lucky. So, do you feel like people judge you because you have a tattoo or tattoos?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. And I just want to say to Miss Becca Sue, I hate the fact that you hide your tattoos when you first meet a parent's or a boyfriend's parents and stuff like that, because you got them, you're awesome, and I don't know if you know how like parents of boys work, but the cooler the girl is that they are dating, then the better job you feel you've done with guiding their
dads. But with
taste
dads, I always let know. Moms are not always as open. I had a mom. I had a dad's always loved me. It even says that in my Tinder bio. Your dad will love me. But like moms, I had one boyfriend's mom say to me, she goes, no offense or anything, but I just think girls with tattoos are disgusting.
Oh, no offense. How can you put a no offense on there?
It's very offensive. And I think I was 19 at the time. And I already had quite a few tattoos, and I mean, I was just like, well, I guess then I'm gross. Like, that's fine. So like I've had moms say that. I had another mom say to me, so how are you ever going to get married? And I said, why? She goes, well, with all those tattoos, how are you ever going to get married?
Like, that's first of all your dream, your goal in life. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, for one,
I can't be complete unless I'm married. Yeah.
I don't fucking care. And for two, they're going to probably look great in my dress, which I'll never wear, but it's fine.
Before we wrap up this conversation, I would like to say one last thing. As the guy who doesn't have any tattoos, I just want to say this. Do you ever think that you're doing the exact reverse of what you're accusing other people of doing? Because this is a perfect example. If you go back just into the segment, I said, I don't have tattoos. It's not my thing. And everybody's like, well, you're judgy about that. That's not to say I'm not judging you guys at all. I just said it's not for me. So you are judging me and what you assume my thoughts are about you. And so do you guys think that sometimes some of these things might be actually in your head because you're thinking that you're being judged when in fact you're not being judged, even if someone doesn't have tattoos?
I actually had people say those things to my face, so I guess I felt pretty judged.
Well, yeah. When someone says that stuff, and there's always going to be, no matter who you are.
Like I'll have guys ask, they go, would you even date a guy like me? And I go, what do you mean? They go, well, I don't have any tattoos. I go, why the fuck would I give a shit if you had tattoos?
Right.
Like, that doesn't matter.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So I do agree with you, though. Some people are dicks.
I think that's a good point, and that's fair to ask. Absolutely. I never judge anybody who doesn't have tattoos as long as they're not like, you have tattoos. It's like, why?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Good conversation today. It all comes from the Bourbon Daily, folks. On this show, we drink. I'm going to kick off the segment because I have a screw top. I've got Makers 101. And this is a screw top. No cork pop for me. So I was up first. Who's next? Let's see. Let's go with. This has a good pour, though. Jeff, we'll have you go next.
Well, I don't think I'm going to have a very good pop because I accidentally opened the bottle that I was going to open during the intro.
How do you accidentally open it?
Well, because I have 42 bottles sitting next to me. Because
he has them in 5-gallon buckets. He doesn't record at his home. Those aren't his curtains back there. That's his parents. He goes to his parents' house, brings the buckets of bourbon in with him, and heads to the basement. Yeah.
Since this is going to be on video, I might as well show him the buckets of bourbon.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is all the bourbon, and
that's his transportation system there.
Yeah. Buckets are actually, a really good way to haul in that. Throw some cardboard in there or something.
That's a tip for everybody.
Country.
Yeah.
And plus you can carry them in real easy. You don't have to take them out. Just pick up by the handle.
Those handles will hold it.
Yes. Noted.
Yeah. Okay. Seriously. I'm not joking. Anyway, Yellowstone, I just picked this up. Finally got a bottle of it. This is one of the 3 main bottles I wanted to get this year. 2019's limited select. Or they're hand selected.
Okay.
Batch. So
let's see what we got.
Let's see how this does. Like I said, I just opened it, so no.
That's good enough. You got the lead. You're going to keep the lead through Dana the Dreamer 6 because we know what she's drinking. Dana, what are you drinking there?
Oh, No, but do you? Because I actually meant
okay.
to pull this bottle out.
Oh, okay. I thought you were sticking with your handle of beam. When you finish off the handle of beam, you got to go to something else?
No, I have some Sinatra Select here. Come at me, but here we go.
Nothing there. Nothing there.
Did you even open it?
It's a cool bottle, but no sound at all. I actually beat her with the twist off I had. It was actually better.
She does like the reverse hand.
Yeah, reverse hand. Yep. Yeah. Lori, how about you? What are you drinking?
I've got some Woodford Reserve over here tonight, and I haven't opened it in a while, so I'm a little hopeful.
Oh.
Hey!
That's pretty good. There's our leader, folks. Miss Becca Sue. Can you beat that?
I'm going to be drinking some Contradiction from Smooth Ambler.
Okay.
Okay. Not good enough. Congratulations to Lori. She takes it on our special video edition of the show. Cheers, gang.
Oh, yes.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, Miss Becca Sue will be clean shaven and she'll be taking back over the announcer duties. We'll do that in just a few. All right. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. And back at it. This is all on video, by the way. So
I love it.
All right, here we go. Let's bring it back.
I'm clean shaven. What are we talking about on this show again? Is bourbon a hobby?
Why is bourbon a hobby? Yeah.
Why is bourbon a hobby? Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking about why bourbon is a hobby, and I just shaved my face.
Yes. Clean shaven Miss Becca Sue. We now see that murder tattoo she's got on her neck. Boy, that's beautiful. That's really nice.
Wasn't it done nicely? My artist, Ashley, drew it on in a vehicle while I was driving.
Yeah. For being on the fly, it's really well centered. The spacing's good.
Not
the
bad.
height. The height is
the height kind of builds up in the middle. It kind of builds up, and it's good.
Murder.
It was in just eyeliner at first, and then I actually had her go over it again before the show with Sharpie because I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So
you want to judge me?
We've got a great show today. You might want to pull out that picture of your mom when we had you send it to your mom too, because now people can see that on video. We talked about that.
Okay, people can see what it is that my mom said about my throat.
Margie, let's see what she's got.
Margie, it's Margie. It says kids suck.
Kids suck. Got the tear coming out of the eye.
Teardrop.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that happens if you're in Miss Becca Sue's family. So, yeah, you send your mom a picture of murder. It's not like she's like, what are you doing? Are you insane?
Yeah.
And
she didn't even ask.
No,
she just one-ups you.
Yeah, she one-ups you.
Yeah, she one-upped me with forehead tattoos instead.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're talking today about bourbon as a hobby because obviously bourbon is a drink. People drink other things, believe it or not, besides bourbon. I didn't know this until recently. I thought everybody only drank bourbon, but apparently you could drink rum or vodka or gin and Scotch.
Really?
Yeah, but I say bourbon exceeds all of those in terms of the hobby factor that surrounds it because there's a lot of reasons for that. What do you guys think are some reasons why bourbon extends beyond just a drink, something that you drink to enjoy, but it's also a hobby as well?
It's American.
It's American, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Home field advantage, definitely.
American.
It's our contribution to distilled spirits, for sure. So I think that's, yeah. And it ties into our history. If you're taking a history class, and they don't, maybe in Kentucky they talk more about this because it's so rooted in Kentucky, but around the country they don't really talk about how whiskey is intertwined with American history, but it really is. If you go back, farmers were making whiskey early on, and then when they started to tax to get some money for war efforts, they started taxing whiskey, and there was pushback and revolt about that. It all ties into American history, and that led to people moving westward to get away from the government and things like that. So it started to really, expand the country where our citizens live. So there's a lot of cool things that tie into whiskey and history. So that is definitely a factor of why this is a hobby.
Yeah.
I think that just some of the people that I've met and just how everyone is. My aunt was visiting from Canada this past week, and she was asking me about some of this stuff, and I was explaining to her about going to the festival and the people I've met and being on the shows and just all this stuff, and bourbon as a hobby brings so many people together that like I would never have just talked to.
Like all of us
and
here,
hung out
like
with.
this whole group. Yeah.
Like,
it's because
why would
of
I hang out
bourbon.
with Steve? He doesn't even have tattoos. But I do because he likes bourbon.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd be like, gross, dude, get some tattoos first.
Yeah. So, yeah, it definitely brings people together.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool.
It's some of the best people. And
the
like,
generosity of bourbon fans. You and I just on a previous show, we talked about you got a cool gift of a vintage bottle of Old Crow. I got a vintage bottle of Kentucky Tavern from 1949. It was distilled. Just as gifts, just like here.
Super jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bottle of Old Forester store pick too.
Yes. Yeah, I got a gift of an Old Forester store pick right here from Jeff from Iowa.
Oh wow, look there.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll try cork pop on that. Let's see. I would have won.
Man.
I would have won.
Yep.
Oh, would have won.
I would have won.
Oh.
Yeah, would have won.
Dang it. So yeah, it definitely brings people together. So I think and there's cool people in there. The people who are bourbon celebrities are just the same as us too. They're as nice as can be. I mean, they're approachable. They'll talk to you. They'll talk about bourbon. They'll talk about things outside of bourbon. It's cool. Yeah, that's definitely a cool component.
And I feel like everyone's really down to earth when it comes to not everyone, but
most people.
Like
most people,
the snobs with some things, like the snobs in Scotch.
Oh yeah.
Which I love Scotch. I love
even
Scotch.
beer. When you think of beer,
wine
snobs.
Yeah.
Beer is got that way with.
I mean, yeah, and I feel like there are obviously the snobs with bourbon. There's always those, but I don't feel like they're as prevalent, maybe, or maybe I just ignore them. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah.
Lori, what do you think? Why is this thing a hobby? Why does it exceed just being something that we drink and consume?
I mean, why not be a hobby? I think that anything you enjoy that you can engage, becomes a hobby. So, there are a lot of things that I enjoy, but I can't engage beyond consumption. And bourbon is something that I can engage beyond consumption. And that's brand stories, and that's the super cool humans that I meet all over the place who love bourbon. And that's, like Becca Sue was saying, the way that bourbon kind of levels us. And there are amazing people who are a freaking big deal in the world of bourbon, but when they're talking to people who also love bourbon and bourbon heritage, they're just with you, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was out at Bardstown Bourbon Company a while back for an event, and of course Steve Nally was there. And I'd never met Steve in person prior to that event. And we just got to chatting, and he was like, do you have a few minutes? And I was like, of course. And so, in between parts of that event, this was before their new visitor center and bourbon library experience was completed. He was like, why don't you just walk over here? And so we just go in this back room, and it's under construction. And there's this caged area where they have locked up the entire Old Crow Chessman series. And pulling out Dusty's, and he's just showing me things that are super awesome. I with Steve now in a cage of bourbon.
Right.
and
steal all those for me.
In there, you know.
Yeah, that Old Crow Chessman is something special
so
for sure.
About it, and it was just amazing. But it wasn't a thing, and it wasn't a big deal outside of just the fact that we had something in common that meant that we were not as different as we would otherwise be looked at. And that was bourbon was that common denominator. It was just freaking cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so. I mean, you just think about that connection. Steve Nally's probably 35 years older than you, 40 years older than you. And it's a way to connect with people of all different generations because it throws out all these preconceived notions because you have this common bond of bourbon. So that's a cool thing for sure.
And in that moment, he never said, it wasn't like, oh, who are you,
right.
Girl at this event. There was no question about that. We were just talking about something that we love, that we had in common, and he's a big deal and I'm not. But it was a really cool. Just just chilling. Why not?
Yeah. So Dana the Dreamer 6, why do you think this is a hobby?
Because it's so much more. You can say it's a hobby, but kind of like Lori said, there's so much more that you can learn and gain from even simple knowledge as to what you can.
Education's a big part of it. Yeah, there's things you can learn and continue. And I don't think, unless your name's Jimmy Russell, I think there's everyone besides Jimmy Russell has more to learn about bourbon. He doesn't need to. Jimmy's fine. He knows everything. But the rest of us still need to learn things. So yeah.
Every day, all day.
How about you, Jeff? Why was this thing a hobby for you as opposed to just something that you just drink because you enjoy it?
Well, I'm lucky to go last because, I was trying to think of stuff, and everyone's made these awesome points. And going from my bourbon journey, with what Steve said, the history is just amazing. I started off in bourbon just looking for something better to drink than, like the bottom shelf stuff. And, then you start learning about the history. Then you start learning about how it's made. Then you start learning about all these awesome people that make it. And then you start learning about, all these communities they have, locally and things like that. And so it's like, I try not to use this metaphor very often, but bourbon is an onion, and there's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
And I think everyone can align to one of the layers, and that's all you need to get interested in the rest of them. Like I didn't care what Abraham Lincoln drank, 5 years ago. I didn't care. But now, and all these other people, or not Abraham Lincoln, is it General Grant?
Yeah. He was an old crow drinker.
He drank years ago, and I didn't care, that Elmer T. Lee was, and all these, was a tank driver and things like that, But I've learned all that stuff, and it's just, like I said, it's just it just falls like dominoes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm rambling here, but
you learn all those things. I agree. And Elmer T. Lee, by the way, he was dropping bombs, so he was a bombardier. But Julian Van Winkle II. So Julian Van Winkle Jr. He was a tank commander, and
thank you.
Famous. Historically, got shot up and still wanted to go back out to battle. Wouldn't leave. They were going to send him home. You're done. You're going home. He refused. And went back out on battle, and just a badass. So. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, there's other components too. I mean, let's think about bourbon travel. There's part of it to go out and see the distilleries and things like that you appreciate and learn more on, by hands on and things like that. Yeah. I think bourbon and food are a thing now that plays into the whole travel thing. Yeah, and Louisville's now a huge foodie town, and if you're into that stuff, there's all kinds of things where you can get into with that. There's also collectability. Bourbon's been around for a long time, so if you're into collecting different advertising things and stuff like that, so yeah.
Hey. I just had a little fairy just walked into my room.
Someone just came in and handed you a bottle. What's going on here?
What does this one say on it?
Is that
Amaranth.
Is this have Paul come on?
Real life?
Is this Paul Good Shepherd? It's got to be, because who else would bring that in?
Wow.
Hey, I'm just getting handed bottles here at this point.
Oh, okay. Age 12 years, 1792. Yeah. Weller, foolproof. Yeah. This is.
I don't know where you guys live, but North Dakota's lit.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I mean, I'm gonna have some of this grain of the gods. I don't know about you guys.
Let's have you try that right now on the air.
It's so good.
Because that is something that I'm hoping someone in my bourbon club will eventually get one of those, so I can at least try it. I have no hope myself of getting it.
You want to try this one, Steve?
Yes, I do, but I'm not there.
I'm going to try that what is it? That Eagle Rare stuff? What is it?
Double Eagle.
Double Eagle.
Oh, that.
Double Eagle, very rare. Yeah. Okay, so she's slamming down her Old Crow or whatever she was doing.
Bourbon exchange comes in handy.
Yeah.
Man,
remember when I said there weren't snobs? Now I'm sitting here like a little snot.
Yeah, I guarantee you that no other video recorded podcast will have that big of a...
Exactly. Yeah, that was epic.
Wait, you don't think anyone else is going to have Grain of the Gods on it? Okay, let's try this.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. It has good burn.
Oh, God, I'm so freaking jealous right now.
I know. Yeah. So this is one of the unicorns of unicorns, yeah.
This isn't something that happens to everyone else when they're on shows?
No,
I'm like sitting here in my house. I'm in Louisville. I'm in bourbon country. Nobody's walking by and dropping sweet bottles on me.
Yeah.
You don't just have cats and bourbon.
Come on.
I have to show off my dad and his buddy.
Yeah. Okay, here you go. Which is, by the way, tasting notes and all. That's another hobby of this. People that keep journals and stuff like that of all their... So, that's definitely a big component of this, so...
I know this guy that sends out quick bourbon notes every now and then.
Yeah.
Like if only.
Okay, Miss Becca Sue, what do you think?
Verdict?
That's good. Why is there more? Just kidding.
Like,
that is amazing. How old is this? 10 years?
10 years, okay.
It sips like an old, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is good. And then, I don't know what this one is, but...
Vintage bourbon.
Okay.
Handmade in Kentucky. I don't know.
Looks like an Old Dusty there is what you got.
All
So
right.
yeah, one of those old brands. It's kind of
more
been forgotten.
Weller.
More Weller. Just a Weller
I have
12 year.
16 bottles with me now, Steve.
Oh, amazing.
This
Weller.
this tastes. This is like. It kind of
Let's
reminds
rate-
me of Old Crow a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Boy, that's
like
a ringing
actual Old
endorsement.
Crow. Like
I'm
old,
sure
old
Buffalo
Crow.
Trace is very pleased
Crow.
about that. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. It
Just
tastes
like the-
Old Crow.
I'm sure they would hate that. but-
That'll be on their website tomorrow. It tastes like Old Crow, Miss Becca Sue, the Bourbon Daily.
Famous person, Miss Becca Sue said.
Yeah, I'm
this,
sure they'll have
and
that
we're
on
sure she's right because her palate is
Oh my God.
Yeah.
incredible.
The murder tattoo adds
The
the.
murder tattoo had us sold on having her be our brand ambassador.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up. Good discussion today, and it's definitely a hobby, something that we all enjoy. It's brought us together, which is cool. That's the most important thing out of all of this stuff, the way it brings people together, and it's brought us together. We'll wrap this one up, as we always do, by talking about where people can find us. Lori, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
Yeah, please follow my bourbon journey and more on Instagram at Spirited Curbs.
All right, Jeff.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Never Not Neat.
All right, Dana the Dreamer 6.
You can find me on Instagram as Dana the Dreamer 6 or on Twitter as Whiskey Girl Dana.
Yeah, and when we say she stands up, the audience can see that. She's not sitting down. She's standing up, moving all the
Standing
time.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
He's just standing.
All right,
Jazzercising. Yeah.
Miss Becca Sue, where can people find you?
You can find me drinking only the best bourbon in the world. It's like Total. Clearly, if you follow me on anything, I'm always drinking the best stuff. But you can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Miss Becca Sue, 1K, no C's.
All right. For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website, and that's abvnetwork.com. Check that thing out. Everything that we do is out there. We've got about 1,500 shows out there. We've got our blogs out there. Our shop is out there. Club information, Patreon information, and so much more, abvnetwork.com. Miss Becca Sue, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd just like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. If you like what... Why do you guys keep doing that?
That's 5-star review.
5 stars.
If
5-star
you
review.
like what we're doing,
You guys
we
are
ask
freaking me out.
please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All
And you
right.
can watch all of what's been happening on this show.
Become a Patreon sponsor. Yeah, and watch what's happening on the
Or
show.
You'll miss great stuff like this. I can't
You're
wait.
going to miss this incredible...
Can't wait to see this.
sleeve.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. All
Murder
right.
tattoo.
For our audience, we'll have a brand new show for you guys tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Peace.